is Derek
Diamond
Experience!
Welcome to another episode of the Derek Diamond Experience podcast. I am your host, Derek Diamond, and if you haven't yet, be sure to visit linktree.com/DDiamondPodcast for all your information regarding the podcast. If you want to subscribe to the audio version, if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, if you want to follow the show on social media, everything is in one location, linktree.com/DDiamondPodcast. And be sure to check out both of last week's episodes where I listed my top 5 TV series finales, and I did a review of the 30-year anniversary special of Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, which you can watch currently on Netflix. But for this week's show, I've been waiting for this one for a while. It is the return of the Roundtable discussions. There has not been a Roundtable yet on this show since it returned in January. And I thought, what better topic than Star Wars, specifically Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Wrapped a couple of weeks ago, been really anticipating it since Season 2 ended back in November of 2020. And joining me for this discussion, our former guest, Jason Robbins, who you know is my co-host over at the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, and co-host of the Dead Game podcast, Mr. Wally Phelps. And we talk about our excitement for Season 3, how we think the season went overall, and really kind of not really a state of the union, but our thoughts on the current state of Star Wars. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to love this week's episode. So without further ado, here is the Mandalorian Roundtable with Jason and Wally. Welcome to this special roundtable discussion on a little-known show from Disney Plus that you might know as The Mandalorian. We're going to be kind of talking about the series as a whole, and specifically Season 3, which, as we're recording this, wrapped up a week ago, which it felt weird to not wake up early this morning to watch an episode. But we're here to talk about the latest season. Joining me is my co-host from the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, Mr. Jason Robbins. How are you, my friend?
Hello. I'm doing good.
And joining us as well is one of the hosts of the Dead Game podcast and the official fact checker of the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, Mr. Wally Phelps. How are you, my friend?
Doing very well, thank you.
I love your Grogu shirt that you wore for the, special occasion.
Yes.
Yeah, I wore.
I changed specifically.
And Jason's rocking the retro Star Wars, so you gotta love that. So I wanted to ask you both, and Jason, we'll start with you, because Season 2 of The Mandalorian came out in 2020. So it's been like two and a half years since the show aired. Obviously, we've seen, a little bit of side story with The Mandalorian in the Book of Boba Fett. So were you excited for this season? Because, I think we all loved seasons 1 and 2. So were you excited for Season 3, even though there had been that big of a gap?
Oh, yeah. And even with, that huge gap, it's just kind of like, come on, just hurry up and get here. Because as much Star Wars stuff as there is out there, that we've had since then, like Andor, Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett, like even that just the little taste of the Mandalorian, that one episode in Book of Boba Fett was just kind of like, oh man, it's like the other stuff is kind of like it's the appetizers, but then the Mandalorian is the meal, and I love it's my favorite of the Star Wars shows, and I'm just sad that now it's probably going to be another 2.5 years before we get another season.
Yeah, that is a very real possibility, especially considering the finale, which I'm sure we'll get into. But Wally, same question for you.
Like an old friend that has come into town to visit, because it's like no time has passed for me. It's like, oh, I'm going to get to see my Mando today. So I sit down, watch it, and it's like an old friend has come to play video games with me.
I think we need to make a T-shirt of that and put it up on the T Public site, just specifically to wear during when Mando seasons come out. It says, "I get to see my Mando today."
I think that's brilliant marketing, but you do make a good point, because I remember thinking that when the first episode of this season aired, and I woke up early, made my coffee, sat on the couch, and it was like I watched the finale of season 2 a week ago. It was literally like, we picked up right where we left off, which I think is a good thing, considering, like I said, the long wait. But we did get a little bit of Mando in Book of Boba Fett, which I kind of call Book of Boba Fett Mando 2.5, because
it's kind of weird though. Do you guys feel that it's weird that I don't know if this got brought up at the time, but people that didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett and went from season 2 of Mando to season 3, they're like, wait, how the hell did he get back? How did Grogu get back with Mando? Like, they missed like that whole story.
Did you see the meme where it had Poe? Somehow Grogu has returned.
I did see that. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the disadvantages of there just being so much content and all of it being kind of interlinked with each other. Cause it's like, if you miss something, and like you said, if you watch season 3 and you're like, how did Grogu come back? I'm sure people will look it up, but you still kind of miss that initial moment when that happened.
Yeah, because not only do you need to watch that episode of Book of Boba Fett, you also need to see the Book of Boba Fett finale when Mando and Grogu eventually come back together in the finale episode. So you need to watch like that last, from that episode to the end of Book of Boba Fett season, to like fully catch up to where season 3 took off.
Right.
Yep.
I agree 100%, because those last couple episodes were all just so integral to this season of The Mandalorian. Even I can only imagine jumping into the show the way you're describing, because of the fact that I wouldn't care, me personally, but then again, I am also the type of person who would not have missed the Book of Boba Fett, even though
There's
it wasn't my favorite show.
There's people that did miss it, and
Yeah, they checked out of it.
Yeah,
Like, they watched 2 episodes and they're like, "Yeah, this is not for me," and they left. And then Mando shows up, and it's like, "Haha, you should stick around."
Well, and it says something too, because I remember when Book of Boba Fett came out, and like I still watched it, but I don't want to say it felt like a chore, but it was tougher to sit through than Mandalorian, until the episode literally titled The Return of the Mandalorian. And I'm like, okay, we're back. And it was far and away the best episode of that entire season to me. And I think that just shows the popularity of that character, because when Mando started, we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything about that character. We didn't know if it was Boba Fett, if it was somebody new. We knew it took place, a few years after Return of the Jedi, but I think that helped in its popularity, because we didn't really have any expectations.
well, I think the strong thing about Mandalorian too is not only do you fall in love with Mando and Grogu, but there's so many other characters that he comes across that you fall in love with as well, that you just love to see pop up all the time. Like, oh man, I can't think of her name. The mechanic on
Yep.
Tatooine. What's her name? That
I
is
know who you're talking
basically
about.
Grogu's babysitter when he goes to Tatooine. Stuff like characters like that just kind of come and go, that aren't main characters. Like even the Mandalorians this season, like Vaz, the big guy that had the huge fight at the end and sacrificed himself for the others. Like, you just something about that character, like it just, he's the big guy that just, he's kind of rough at first, but then they start to become friends, and then he sacrifices himself for everybody, and like when he goes down, you're just like, oh my God, man, that was like such a hard moment to have him go out like that.
We're skipping around a lot, but
Yeah, I know.
the
Sorry.
way, but yeah, the way that they just kind of lingered on him afterwards, just it was a gut punch.
Yeah.
And it's honestly the last two episodes of this season are probably my favorite episodes of television in years. I mean, it ranks up there with the greatest episodes of television of all time to me because it was so cinematic. There was
Mhm.
so much emotion. There were stakes. The villain was really cool as hell. There's so much lore that was being presented to us that
Giancarlo
we got to see
Esposito.
so much action.
We didn't.
He is a genius.
Mm-hmm.
That man
He
should
can't be
play
dead.
everyone.
He can't be dead because I know we're spoiling everything. And if you listen to this, spoilers. I know he seems dead. I don't think he's dead. He escaped death one time. He can do it again, and he's one of the greatest Star Wars villains that has ever lived. And he can't go out that easily.
I'm
Perfectly
telling you, he needs
cast,
to play
too.
Magneto in the upcoming X-Men movies because I want him to be every villain.
Oh, he would be an
That's ever
incredible
been.
Magneto. I know
Oh,
he wants to
Right.
play Charles, but he's just
He
so
can
good
play
as a
Charles.
villain.
That's fine. He can
Like, I
also
think he'd
be
be great as
Doctor Doom for
Charles.
all I care.
dude, if he wants to be Wolverine, he can be Wolverine. Just let him be whatever he wants to be.
Step aside, Hugh Jackman. I've got this.
Right. Let's back up that movie check. Like it's not even a truck full of money. It's a truck full of check that add
Yeah.
up to a higher amount that could be the money. That's how much money we want him to have.
In a Los
It-
Pollos Hermanos truck full of cash.
Bunch of barrels filled with cash.
yeah, it's he can do no wrong, in my opinion. Like when he was cast as that character, I didn't need to see anything because I'm like, I trust him enough. I've seen him in enough. Like I could have just seen him in Breaking Bad alone, and I would have trusted him to play that character. But I'm with you. It seems like he's dead, but they also show all his clones, and plus Gideon had a mustache. In this season, he did not, and all of his clones are clean shaven. So it could very well be a clone. Who
Well, I
knows?
don't know what you guys thought, but that fight between him and Katie Sackhoff, who another person who can just be in whatever she wants to be and whatever she wants, whatever character she wants to be, let her be it. That fight between her and Moff Gideon is just as good as any epic fight we've ever seen in Star Wars. Luke and Darth Vader, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Like that fight was so visceral and just it was so good.
One of my favorite Star Wars things ever is in one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. And it's the Star Wars Episode 2, Back of the Clones, when there are the two sides firing back and forth at each other, and it's just like, and there's dust picking up all over the place and all that. This show had moments that were very reminiscent of that, with all of the flying stormtroopers, and then the oh my god, the image of Bo-Katan with the dark saber just leading the charge of all the Mandalorians just made me crazy.
It was exactly
It was
like
so great.
reminded me, that last episode reminded me of the last third of Return of the Jedi, where you had the three fights going on. You had the fight on the surface of Endor, you had the fight, in space, and then you had the Luke and Vader fight. I mean, this was just like that. You had the space battle, with the hijacked Star Destroyer they had. Then you had the fight down on the planet with all the Mandalorians and the Mando stormtroopers, which were an awesome addition to the
Yes.
Star Wars lore. And then you had the fight between first Mando and Moff Gideon, and then Bo-Katan shows up and just like, I got this. Go take care of Grogu, who's in there having his own fight with the guards, which was, good Lord, there was so much going on.
And I saw. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's great how they use a puppet for almost everything that they could with Grogu, because you could tell that they were just throwing a doll around at one point, and it's like,
That
this is
cute
great.
little
This feels like Star Wars.
that cute little bastard just running in a circle on the lights up at the top, evading all those things. Just like, you just keep running, little dude. Mando will be there in a minute.
That little puppet has made quadruple what it took to make that thing.
No kidding.
It is more than made its money's worth for sure.
Absolutely.
What did you guys think of the addition of having Grogu pilot IG-11?
I
Oh,
love
I
it.
loved it. Yeah.
No, no, no,
Yes,
no.
yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, 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 yes. I thought of that same thing too when he just kept hitting the button. I'm like, I wonder if Daniel
Like,
Bryan's
Daniel
watching
Bryan.
this. He's somewhere in his living room. Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, the fact that I didn't know that I needed to see Grogu piloting a mech out of his dead friend's body, but I am all about it. Yes, please give me that.
And you know what's great about that is they made IG-11 uh cute almost, and IG-88 is still one of the most fearsome, scary Star Wars characters ever created. He scared me as a kid, when he pops up in Empire Strikes Back, just the look of him. And then I don't know if you guys remember Shadows of the Empire for N64,
Video
when you
game,
had
yeah.
to fight IG-88 on Ord
In the
Mantell
junkyard.
in the junk. That's one of the scariest things I've ever done in a video game. Like, it's up there with Silent Hill as far as like being frightened in a video game.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. And that's something that I wish they would do. Like, I know there's a lot of Star Wars projects in the works. Even if they did a mini series about those bounty hunters, it would be so good. Like, do an IG-88 episode and then maybe do a Bosk episode. I think that'd be really cool.
Well,
I don't. I'm not against this at all.
well, now that Dave Filoni is pretty much peppering in and leading us into the EU stuff, the extended universe stuff, I think we're heading towards an Heir to the Empire sort of story. Why not do extended universe type stuff? Like, why don't we get a Tales of the Bounty Hunters TV show where we follow Zuckuss and Forlom and Dengar and all those different bounty hunters? Just one-off episodes where we get to follow these cool bounty hunters for a story.
I mean, I would watch it. I mean, if it has Star Wars attached to it, I'm gonna watch it anyway. But if it's about the bounty hunters, I mean, even better, because you only get like such a small glimpse of them on screen. Even with Boba Fett, we just now got a Boba Fett show, so why not give the bounty hunters their due?
Yeah. I mean, I would watch it. I do have to say that I do also enjoy the mystery behind them. So I don't know if I would want too much of a show, but yeah, I do. I think that they really cannot do any wrong. Yes, Book of Boba Fett was not the greatest show, but Andor was, and this definitely is one of my favorite shows of all time, to be honest. Now, I mean, the thing that not really bothers me, interests me in a way, is when people start watching the show at the beginning of the season, and they were essentially saying, "Why none of this makes any lick of sense? Why is this happening? I don't like this." And I'm just sitting there with my coffee, going, "Yes, have some."
Well,
This
you guys feel
amazing.
that they're starting to achieve a balance with the Star Wars content that they're coming out with, because not only do we get stuff like The Mandalorian, which is sort of, just Star Wars stuff. You've got your kid focused stuff. You've got, those what were those things that were the anime things, like the Japanese
Visions.
Visions.
Visions, yeah.
A second season, I think, is dropping soon if it hasn't already dropped.
Those were so good. And then you've got stuff like Andor, which is very like adult oriented storytelling. So you've got this wide breadth of Star Wars content for everyone, because there's those Star Wars fans who are like, man, I hated Book of Boba Fett, and then they never gave Andor a chance. And it's like, go watch Andor and then see what you think. Like there's
oh my God,
there's Star Wars.
Andy Serkis does some of his best work of all time in that show.
Agreed. Yes.
And if you are not watching that show, then you are really doing yourself a disservice as a Star Wars fan and as an Andy Serkis fan if you're an Andy Serkis fan. Because one line, "I can't swim," made my chest tight. And I'm like, and it's actually affecting me right now.
Yeah, because the thing about that show is there's very little, if any, like comic relief. Like it is dark.
I like that about it, though.
Yeah. And then
I've been wanting a show like this in Star Wars for a long time. I wasn't expecting it to be Andor, but I'm glad we got it.
Did you guys watch the last episode the last season of the Bad Batch as well? Like it got very, very dark.
I haven't watched the Bad Batch yet.
I haven't watched. I watched a couple of episodes of the Bad Batch. They're making one more season, and then I'll probably finish. I'll watch it once it's done, I think
that's probably what I'll do as well. But I've heard good things about it, though.
It's great. Right. I love that show, and it doesn't seem
kind of bad because no one's watching it.
That's the thing, is like nobody's watching it, and I'm like online, just like, guys, why are you not watching this? It's great.
Because there's only so many hours in the day, Jason.
But to go back and answer your question you asked a minute ago, I think, yes, there has finally been a balance of Star Wars content as far as appealing to age ranges. And now I'm glad that we're going to get some more movies, because I've been, I won't say anti-Star Wars movie for a while, but after Rise of Skywalker, I'm thinking Star Wars needs to be in the TV realm for a while. You can flesh out the characters more. We need to move away from that. But I think enough time has passed.
Right. Well, I was going to say, I think a lot of what The Mandalorian is doing right now is taking what they did with those movies, with the sequel movies, and essentially it's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau going, all right, how are we going to fix that?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going on.
That's why I think that Filoni is moving more towards the extended universe stuff. With bringing in Thrawn, and we've already got a taste of some of those characters in this last couple episodes of The Mandalorian with Captain Paleon, who was in that Imperial meeting. You had Hux's dad, and
I saw that.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
It's like Hux, holy
yeah. But that I don't think they're going to try to retcon the movies, but I feel like Filoni being in charge and being the lore master that he is, I feel like Kathleen Kennedy did a good choice with just kind of letting him take the reins and do what he wants to do.
He's making Uncle George proud.
Yeah.
He really is. I mean, George Lucas, I haven't seen. Whenever I see any behind the scenes footage and George Lucas is on set, he looks so thrilled with what they're doing. So probably because he loves the technology behind what they're doing, with the Void and all, and all that kind of stuff. But not the Void. What's it called?
The Volume.
The Volume. The Void is the VR experience. I apologize. But the Volume is such wonderful technology that I'm sure George Lucas is just sitting there going, this would have made things a lot easier.
He just walks in and you just see drool coming out of his mouth like, why wasn't this around 20 years ago?
No kidding.
I'd love to see it in person one day. Like I'm still a shoot on location type person, but the volume, like it's just incredible from what like behind the scenes footage I've seen.
It looks so real. I mean, scenes you would never think were done in that thing are done in that thing. And it's
Yeah.
crazy how real everything looks in there.
It is so like when I watched a 30-minute demo of how it worked, and they had like the camera on a like a like a I don't know how you like a steady cam rig basically, where it can move anywhere and you can walk around with it and whatnot. But when you're doing that, wherever it's pointing, it renders and makes it
Hmm.
look nice, and everything around it looks like crap. And it's like, how does it do that? This is really neat, you know. And everybody who works on it, like whenever they're doing the spaceship stuff, and they have the space outside and everything like that, the actors are like, yeah, we're really looking at that. It's wild. It's like we're on a ride, but we're not moving. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that thing is awesome. And to know that it runs off the Unreal Engine is just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and you think, like, what's it going to be like, in the next couple of iterations of the Unreal Engine? Like, it looks real now. What are they going to be able to do in 5 years, 10 years? That
It'll
technology
probably
is going to be in our homes. It's going to
it'll
be like
probably
a
be closer to
holodeck.
5 years because you see how quickly it's changed. It's like every 3 to 5 years, there's some kind of big, development or breaking thing that happens. So I can't wait to see what happens, and it seems like Lucasfilm is near the cutting edge of it. Like they're always keeping up with the technology.
I mean, they
Right.
could
And
literally
a lot
sell
of that
that
has
thing
to
as
do.
the holodeck. I was just thinking about that. Like, you could put that, that thing in your house and just go wherever you want to in the universe inside that thing.
Yeah, kind of. they I think for me, the entertainment ideas of like a theme park or something of that nature that would put that kind of technology inside of there, um inside of an attraction. I don't know if it's the same technology that they use to do the Galactic Star Cruiser or not, but it seems like they should have, because of the fact that they have like this whole bridge experience where you're firing at TIE fighters and whatnot. So if that's not what they're doing, uh, I don't know why they wouldn't, because it seems like that'd be the easiest way to go about it. But for me, the idea that you can film anything basically and not have to go anywhere. I mean, and I'm talking like a fantastic world. That just seems like over time it'll also make things less expensive if they actually make more of them, to
Yeah.
where, because I'm sure it costs money to rent, to have people there to run it, to all of that kind of stuff. But the more that they have and the more that they could do, just imagine how independent filmmaking could benefit from that as well. Where if you like, we have this whole idea for a science fiction movie that takes place in a theme park of the future, but there's no way we could build that. What if we had a volume to basically have it projected behind us while we pretend like we have all the stuff here? And only build one practical thing that we're going to be interacting with. I mean, I just love the technology they developed for this particular. I don't know if they did it for the Mandalorian, but it just shows what's possible, because this TV show felt more cinematic than most cinematic movies I've seen over the last year, and that includes Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I didn't finish, but
See, that's the
it
reason.
looks so much.
That's the reason why I honestly am not that excited about new Star Wars movies, because the TV shows are just as cinematic, if not more, than the movies we've gotten so far, and they can do anything in that volume. I mean, the space battles all the battles look great. I mean, it's
Mhm.
what can you do in a movie that's going to get me to the theater now excited, unless you do like a Mandalorian movie, which I'd be there day one,
Well, I would go see the Mandalorian major motion picture.
Yeah.
Well, that is one of the movies in
Or
development.
next
Is there's going to be a Dave Filoni directed film that is like the climax of all the shows, like The Mandalorian. It
Right.
hasn't been given a release date, but yeah, I'd be there day
feel
one.
like it shouldn't be a Filoni directed. I think, as much as I love Dave Filoni, the best episodes are directed by uh, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yes.
So I would prefer if she was the director, but what can I do? I didn't. She's responsible for one of my favorite images of the whole series, and that is Grogu with the bone broth, and that really, really, just for that, give her a movie.
A meme for the ages.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, Carl Weathers is is a pretty good director too.
Oh, he is.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely
He does
is.
action. He does really good action in his episodes. So I don't know. I would give it to either one of those, either him or Bryce Dallas Howard, and I would be okay with that because they're excellent directors, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Weathers is really good in the show too.
I've loved the development of his character.
I love the fact that he goes out to a field filled with Mandalorians and says, "Mando."
Yeah.
It's like the first thing I thought was, I swear to God, all of them are going to turn around, aren't they? They didn't, but I'm like, they should have.
They all turn around. Yes. You rang? You just got me thinking. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what did you guys think of the overall story of the episodes where it's not just about Mando anymore? I mean, it's literally the Mandalorians have come together again to take back Mandalore, and that was the whole arc of the season. And the focus isn't just on Din Djarin anymore. It's the Mandalorian people.
I think it's the natural progression of the story.
And friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, a lot of people don't like the whole side quest type shows, but the thing is, the whole series has been nothing but that. Like, ever since the beginning, everything, they haven't figured out the formula yet, which is shocking to me, where every episode seems separate from the rest of the series, but by the last couple of episodes, they all end up meaning something, having a purpose, a piece of the puzzle that's all going to come together at the end of the series. So I don't understand those criticisms about the way that they're constructed, but I do love the fact that we're just not with Mando all the time, that we're getting these side stories. We're getting the Dr. Pershings. We're getting the
well, that's
whole.
what I was...
Oh God, Christopher Lloyd was great in the episode. Seeing Jack Black was great for me, and Lizzo, and a lot of people were complaining about.
You mean it
Jack
didn't ruin
Black
the franchise for you, Wally?
Well, because the fact that, I mean, it's so like the moment I saw her, I'm like, this episode's going to be good as hell.
Well, the thing is, people didn't like that episode that was all about Dr. Pershing, and I don't know the other lady's name. She's like one of the officers.
The spy.
Yeah, the spy. And they just that one episode put so many seeds for future stuff in motion.
Right.
People were like, what was that about? Like, dude, do you not understand storytelling at all?
Like, no.
A lot of these fans don't. And that's the thing, is they want everything handed to them immediately. But no, it's a story. This is a show that spans multiple episodes. Each episode is a little seed that will sprout into something later on. And I love that. I love that side story because I've wondered ever since I was a kid, what is it like just in an average day on Coruscant? And we got to see it.
Right.
I thought that was
Oh my
cool.
God. I would love to go to Coruscant at a theme park. I want to be able to
Yes.
see the tallest peak of a
Yeah.
mountain just sticking up out of the ground. It's like, go ahead and touch it. I would love to have a robot yell at me. I mean, it just, and the one thing from that episode where we found out that the dark side does have cookies. And it's
Yeah.
just,
I never
it's,
thought of that till just now,
I
but
didn't
that's
either.
brilliant.
I'm like, man, I would love to have those. They look very delicious. But yeah, I mean, that episode was great to me. I have no complaints.
And
And
I
it
mean,
also shows that not the Empire, the new Republic is not as, like every giant bureaucracy. There are things that are not just. There are still places that need work. There is no perfect society. And it also shows the level of discontent some people have with the new republic. So it shows how these disenfranchised people could want to back out of the bureaucracy and the new boss same as the old boss mentality of, well, this is just as bad, if not worse, than the empire was, and shows those seeds being sown for the new order. And I mean, the first order, the new order. Love their music. The first order. the
Well, especially the stuff like with Mr. Kim, he wants to help Grief
Yeah.
Karga, and he goes to ask, the bureaucracy or his higher ups if he can have a squadron
so
to go and help, and they won't do it. Like, he has to go find the Mandalorians and be like, hey, your buddy, Grief Karga is in trouble. You need to go, like, just, he's your friend. Do with that information what you will.
well, his mistake
don't
was
want
asking
no
the
part of
ladies'
this, do
man.
we?
Yeah. Yeah, the ladies' man shows up.
You know, I saw another meme that I thought was great, where it had him, and then it was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to requisition you those ships." And then the spy comes in, and he goes, "Oh, a lady!
Ooh,
It's a lady.
It's a lady!"
I'm sorry, but I can't see him in any other role except for the ladies' man. I started
I
laughing
don't
when
know.
he popped up on camera, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be great.
I don't know. He was the superintendent of schools on The Office. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's on the Goldbergs now too, so I keep
Oh,
seeing him
really?
at the
just popping up everywhere, which is
yeah,
great.
he's the guidance counselor at Adam's school.
Okay.
That feels problematic,
But no,
considering his history.
I'm totally with you guys in the sense that, yeah, in the beginning, like it might feel like a slow burn, and then like a lot happens in the last couple of episodes, but there's a reason for it all, and that's what people don't understand. And I don't know where it started with Star Wars fans. It's probably the prequels, but it's like
That's where it started.
Star Wars
Yeah, but the
fans
thing
are
is,
not happy
I don't
unless they're
know.
complaining about Star Wars.
Because yes, I believe. Well, no, you know what? I think that it all started with Empire Strikes Back, because I know that there were arguments in that movie too. Because one of my earliest memories of life is a friend of my uncle's arguing with my aunt about Empire Strikes Back, and how it ruined the first one because Darth Vader should be a robot, and how the Obi-Wan is obviously a clone. He was in the Clone Wars, and Obi-Wan, that's a distinction, not a name. So there was, yes, I one of my earliest memories in life is people arguing over Empire. So it's always been there. It's just that because of the internet, more idiots can get together and talk about these things.
Speaking of that, something we haven't mentioned, Ahmed Best, his Jedi character, is the one who saved Grogu, which I didn't know it was him until the credits, and I saw his name, and I'm like, oh shit, that's awesome. And then I forgot.
I really hope we get more about him after
Same.
that moment when he gets Grogu off of Coruscant, because that's where we left. You know, he gets to the
Like,
platform,
what happened?
and they take off in the ship, and that's the end of Grogu's
Yeah.
memory. And I hope we get more flashbacks in the future of that
Like,
character.
how did he end up in the care, quote, of that gang on? I think, wasn't it on Tatooine? No, it was on Navarro, I believe. I don't know where it was. Whenever they, I want to know how that happened. How did he get there?
I think that's
then
the
again,
next story to tell.
right. And I am also fine if they never tell it. You know, who am I to tell them what to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like we still have a lot of story left to tell, but I think with the way they ended it, you know, with Mando, you know, it left on a very hopeful ending. You know, Mando is going to be working, you know, independent contractor, a la Clerks, working for the New Republic. And, you know, he ends up on the farm and, you know, he's kicking his feet up. Grogu's out at the pond playing with the frogs. And then we get that Looney Tunes like close in on the two of them. And then at the end, and I'm like,
That cracked me up when that happened.
yeah, I'm happy with that kind of ending. But
I want a Thomas Kincaid style painting of that shot.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Hang over my fireplace. Well, so I can have my smoking jacket on, sitting back with a nice glass.
You know, it would have made it even better is if we would have gotten if they would have just hired what's his name? Does the voice great voice Morgan Freeman. If they would have gotten Morgan Freeman just to do the last like minute of The Mandalorian, and he's just like, and then young Grogu.
Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian and Grogu spent a nice life together on the farm, and Mando eventually became an old man, and you know, Grogu took him back to be buried with, you know, a king's honor on Mandalore, and that's where our story ends. And that would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 more endings because Peter Jackson's the director. I don't know why I thought that would be fun.
I will say this, speaking of Grogu, and I haven't seen anybody bring this up yet, not to say that they haven't, I just haven't seen anything. With one of the next movies, it will feature the return of Rey, with her rebuilding the Jedi Order. It's going to take place 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. Grogu would be around 90 at that point. Yoda was 100 when he started training Jedi. If they're smart, they will make Grogu a major part of that movie. And that will sell tickets. Din Grogu, yes.
Din Grogu, and we haven't even talked about the fact that, number one, we saw Mythosaur for the first time.
Grogu communicated with it at the end.
I wanted him to ride the Mythosaur in that finale so bad.
Oh, that would be great.
Grogu might be the new when he gets a little older, he might be the leader of the Mandalorians, and that
would be sick.
He's that bridge between the Mandalorians and the new Jedi Order.
Dude, a blaster in one hand, a lightsaber in the other. Holy crap, sign me up.
Somebody get Dave Filoni on the phone. Let's
He rides up on a Mythosaur.
Yeah, like when Boba Fett rode the Rancor in the book of Boba Fett. That would be
only cool.
That visual would break the internet.
It really would. Oh my gosh. I really do love the fact that Din Djarin took in and adopted Grogu, mainly because we now no longer need him to go on side quests to go find his parents. So that's nice.
I'm okay with them leaving his parents a mystery. They haven't even named the species that he and Yoda are. But
No.
I'm okay if they never do, because like with anything, you want to leave a little bit of, audience interpretation. Like, what could this be, or
Right.
what could that outcome be? So if they never reveal it, I'm okay with it personally.
George Lucas always wanted
And how
Yoda to be.
Palpatine is his dad.
He
Oh
always
God.
wanted Yoda's backstory to be, unknown. Like he wanted Yoda to be a mystery. So to leave Grogu a mystery as well is I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
What would you guys like to see? Because season 4 is confirmed. What would you guys like to see? Like, would you want like a, you know, self-contained story every week where maybe Din and Din Grogu take on different jobs? Or what would you guys like to see for season 4?
Did I want to see Grogu with a helmet and the lightsaber just riding the mythosaur? It's gonna be wonderful. I honestly I don't like to. I haven't liked speculating or even saying what I want to see ever since The Last Jedi, because it got so bad. But if I were to say definitively what would make me happy is just 45 minutes every week of just Grogu sitting peacefully eating macaroons
And the occasional frog egg.
and the occasional frog egg.
I mean, as far as speculation goes, I mean, we know that Grogu communicated with the what was what's
Mythosaur.
the name? Mythosaur.
This one.
So what if we get to where it's more of a rebuilding of Mandalore kind of story? Get more Katie Sackhoff, because I mean, Mando already
Hey,
told her,
sack off.
I will be with you until your song is written, which is one of the
I will
greatest lines
be in your heart.
ever. What if they end up getting together and then they have like a little Mando baby and Grogu has a brother?
Oh my God. Oh my
I
God.
love it.
I want this.
I love it.
They will
And
sing
they could be
songs
rebuilding
of Din
Mandalore,
Djarin and Grogu.
and they could be, having fights with the Empire remnants, before they become the First Order, because they're pretty pissed off about their planet being bombed to shit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Burned to glass, basically.
sorry about
As one
cursing.
should. I already did earlier, so it's okay. Yeah,
Wow, am I the only one on this episode that hasn't cursed? That's not normal.
I think so. You still got a little bit of time. But yeah, I'm with you in the sense that like I'd like to see a continuation of the rebuilding of Mandalore, and the Mythosaur has to play into it somehow. And I foresee it being a mix of that, along with there'll still be some side quests with Din working with the New Republic, but I'm okay with that. Like, not everything Star Wars has to be directly Jedi related. Look how good Andor was.
Hooking back up with Ahsoka for a few adventures. I mean, I'd love to
I'm
see
excited for that show.
Yes.
I am too. I'm ready to finally see Thrawn in live action. It did make me think though, when the Ahsoka trailer was released, it just made me think, man, the sequel trilogy should have just been Heir to the Empire.
Yep.
And it would have been so good. I'm not a sequel trilogy
Never ask
hater,
us.
but yeah,
I am.
didn't ask
I
us.
love. For me, I like The Force Awakens. Last Jedi, I love, which is a very controversial statement. And The Rise of Skywalker, I could take or leave. There's good things in this movie, but I as a whole, I thought it was a mess.
I think I'd said it on this podcast before. My problem with Rise of Skywalker is I saw it one time in the theater and I don't remember a thing from it. Honestly, I don't remember anything.
Well, the biggest problem with that
you
whole
don't even remember the shrug. Whenever the Knights of Ren show up and Kylo is Like,
I,
and he
I
starts
remember
beating the
I remember the GIF or GIF, whatever it's called. I remember that of people made of it. It just seems so. It seems so disjointed. Like that whole trilogy is just so disjointed.
because they didn't plan it from movie 1 to movie 3. They made
Yeah.
Force Awakens and said we'll figure it out from there.
And that was a good jumping off point. I don't know how they fumbled it so badly. It's and and I've mentioned this before. I did read the original draft of the third film that they were going to do, and I honestly much prefer it.
Oh,
But
it was good. I actually thought it
it's
was really
not
good.
right. I loved the whole underground resistance that Finn was doing, and the idea that Hux was a lightsaber collector, and just everything in it was very very interesting, and it had a satisfying conclusion to me. But I understand I guess they felt like they needed to retcon some stuff, and even though I very much disagreed, they did it anyway. So they didn't
They
ask
they
me.
they caved in to peer pressure is the
Yeah.
way I
That's
look at it.
what it is. So
If they would,
making no one happy.
because Ryan Johnson took it in a very interesting direction, which I personally I like The Last Jedi. I
I
think
love
it's
it.
a great
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
That's the only one I own on 4K. So just
Really?
throwing that out there. That's the only one of the new trilogy that I have.
But then it goes to they tried to, I don't know, kind of rein it back in or take it back in
Yeah.
the original direction that JJ was trying to take in it. I think JJ, I've said this a million times. He's great at starting stories and creating mystery. He does not know how to end things. Like,
Nope.
look at Lost. Lost ended horribly, like he does not know how to end things.
Yeah,
Same.
it. I that could be a whole separate podcast on the fumbles of the sequel trilogy, which is unfortunate because I remember the hype for The Force Awakens, and I think it delivered. Like I still like that movie. I think it's fun, but we needed something different. And people crap on Ryan Johnson, but he's actually a very good filmmaker. If you don't like Last
God, I
Jedi, watch Knives
love
Out and Glass Onion.
Yeah.
two of the best movies of all time.
Mhm.
And I said that about, well, I've been talking about the best TV shows of all time, but the Knives Out series is my new favorite series of movies. I cannot wait for the next one to come out.
Mhm.
Well, the
It
problem,
is, swear to God, I want them to be the Muppets, and Benoit Blanc is the only one that's not a Muppet,
yeah.
and yeah, it'd be perfect.
I
Perfect.
mean, the problem with the Star Wars fandom is they don't know what they want. They got The Force Awakens, which everybody loved, but they were like, "Well, all you did was remake A New Hope. Give us something different." So guess what? They got Ryan Johnson came in, gave us something different, and everybody's like, "We hate it. We want the same." And like,
Like, hold on now, not that different.
It's really not. If you look at Star Wars lore and you look at The Last Jedi, there's not a ton of differences.
yeah,
It make whatever. I'm not even gonna. I'm tired of telling people how wrong they are about this. I mean, it's fine if you don't like the movie. I'm not going to try to convince you, but and if you do like a movie, I'm not going to try to convince you that it's bad. I just feel like people are they're not used to stories being told to them anymore. They want to be part of the process in a way where they already know what's going to happen. They just want it to be presented in a way that they might not expect. And that is a tall order, number one. And number two, it's not any fun. If you already know what's going to happen because it's what you want to happen, then I think, what's the point of doing anything at that point?
yeah.
Exactly.
The only exception to that rule is the Avengers Endgame for me, because that is exactly what I wanted them to do. Uh, and they did it, and they did it better than I thought they would. But it's at the same time, they continue to do these safe movies, and this just moving a little outside of the Star Wars thing to illustrate this point. They're not as good anymore because they're trying to be safe in a way that I'm not interested in. And that's what it sounds like Star Wars fans want, but they're going to complain about it if they ever got it. And I think that what they're doing now with the Mandalorian, especially, is showing us things that we didn't know we wanted to see, like a mystery. We had an episode of Columbo in the Mandalorian universe while they were trying to figure out why these robots were malfunctioning. I loved that episode because it reminded me so much of all of those types of TV shows and whatnot. And Christopher Lloyd's performance was just magical.
Dude, those little things,
just
the robot makers, the bad baby, no hug. Like,
no, no squeezes.
No
dude,
squeezes.
I mean, Rogue One, I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like Rogue One is damn near a perfect movie. If you go back and watch Rogue One, that movie is so well
Especially
told.
now after Andor.
From beginning to end, that movie is a damn near perfect movie. And
Right.
and it's not just the Star Wars fans, dude. I went online last week after the Picard season finale, which is one of the best finales of all time. That I shed tears, I jumped for joy. It is a joyful end to the whole Star Trek The Next Generation story.
It couldn't have been any better.
And I went online and I was excited to talk about it, and people were bitching about it. And I'm like,
Of course they were.
what is wrong with you people? Who took the joy out of your lives? Like that you hated this?
What are these people?
To use a quote from my late grandfather, who's shitting your cornflakes?
Yeah. So it's not just Star Wars fans, it's Star Trek fans as well. There are some toxic Star Trek fans out there too.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen a lot of toxic Star Trek fans lately.
All fan bases have them. I just feel like Star Wars is one of the most vocal.
Yeah.
Heck, Ghostbusters is a toxic fan base, and it's
which I don't understand. Like, Ghostbusters is so fun. I mean, the first movie is near perfect, and the second one's good too. And I like that
movie of all time.
Yeah,
the second one I love. I love the third one, and I like the 2016. I don't love the 2016, but I don't loathe it like a lot of people do.
You can't compare it to the original. You won't enjoy it that way.
You cannot go in thinking this movie is going to be the same tone, the same well-written script. The villain's very forgettable, but at the same time, it had some cool stuff, and it's Ghostbusters, so it's I feel like more of good things is better than none of good things. Yeah. So we were getting no Star Wars. We were getting none. So I think that the people who are like, well, Disney is ruining Star Wars, those people need to evaluate this. Would you prefer them to just not do anything with it other than sell you things?
See, that's what
all it was.
That's what I keep telling people. Like, I mean, you people, like, I don't.
People. What do you mean, you people?
Star Trek's kind of like.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah. Star Wars is kind of like pizza. Mandalorian is a great pizza, and Obi-Wan was a great pizza. I mean, you can't eat pizza all the time and have great pizza. There's going to be some okay pizza.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to have bad pizza, but
someone's going to have a Celeste pizza from the Dollar Tree.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
It'll kill your
Star Wars holiday special.
It'll take care of your hunger. But I know what that. I grew up in a time where from 1983 to 1999, all we got were 2 Ewok movies on TV. Like that was it.
Order, we also got 2 animated series. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the animated, but there was a Star Wars drought of 16 years there, where we got nothing.
They just kept
Hardly
re-giving
anything.
us the same things. I'm flabbergasted that a whole magazine was able to be published every quarter for Star Wars when there was no Star Wars. How was this happening?
I was carrying the Star Wars flag, when I was in high school, and nobody else gave a shit about Star Wars. I was reading the Heir to the Empire books. I was reading the Dark Horse Boba Fett comics and everything. I was reading the Tales of the Jedi comics. I was playing the video games. I kept that, tried to keep the Star Wars flag flying because I knew one day.
Jason specifically
Yes,
was
me
keeping Star Wars
specifically.
afloat.
Because none of my, maybe I had one or two friends that still kind of loved Star Wars and loved to talk about it, but it was a dry time for Star Wars stuff. Nobody was talking about Star Wars for a long time unless you were into the comics and the books and the things of that nature. And now I get to come home on Wednesdays and watch Star Wars TV shows like Andor and Bad Batch and Mandalorian. And let me tell you, it's freaking awesome. And yeah, there might be some bad episodes in there every once in a while, but like I said, even bad pizza is still good pizza.
It's like they
I love
always
that
say,
analogy.
the worst I used to say that the worst day at Disney World is better than the best day at work. And I think that goes for Star Wars too. The worst episode of Star Wars, like the worst anything of Star Wars, is better than most other things. So
Yeah.
it's like, why would you be so vehemently against my joy specifically? Do you hate me as a person?
It's like people that hate
Why
on
would you deny me this?
it's like people that hate on the new Marvel stuff, like they hated She-Hulk and stuff like that. I'm like,
I
I
like
remember
She-Hulk.
there was a time where the only Marvel movies I got was Punisher with Dolph Lundgren and a really weird straight-to-video Captain America movie that was really bad, where he had rubber ears on the costume. And that's all we had.
And we liked it. No,
And we
didn't,
liked
actually.
it.
We really did not. Well, you're also missing Howard the Duck, which was also a Marvel film.
Yep.
But okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Duck moves is all I got to say about that. Duck
the,
moves.
the first really, the first good Marvel movie came out in 1998, and that was Blade.
Yeah, I
And
remember when me and Wally first met, you gave me a copy of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie because I had never seen it.
Yeah,
And it took me
and I
3
didn't want to
days
bet.
to watch it because I could only stand it in 20-minute increments.
Surprised your guys' friendship survived that.
I mean, it's better than the person I gave the Star Wars Holiday Special to.
Well,
Okay,
that was
that's
the
fair.
thing, like it was all you gave me the because we were talking about it. And I was like, I've never seen that movie, and you were like, here, take this. I was like, well, I'll give it back to you when I'm done. You were like, don't worry about it.
No, you will not. And then I jumped out the window.
Speaking of Star Wars comics, I actually reread Dark Empire 1 and 2 recently.
So good.
Another thing that could have been adapted and been a really good movie. But
now, with the
Ooh,
de-aging
Jedi
stuff,
Fallen Order, it has a sequel coming out this Friday, so I'm excited about that.
yeah,
And
I've
Fallen
heard
Order was really good.
and I've heard the Jedi Survivor is better.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing so much huge praise, and I'm like, well, how is it better? Because it was so good.
I just hate that it's coming
You
out
know?
so close to Zelda.
I don't, because I don't play that game.
No, that's fair.
that's because you're
But,
a joyless gamer. You're a joyless gamer, sir.
That
well,
should be my new podcast. Welcome to the Joyless Gamer, the only gamer who hates video games. Today, we're gonna be talking about how much I hate
No, I
Zelda games.
I was gonna say, I mean, I know it's not canon really anymore, the Dark Empire stuff, but why couldn't Disney do like like a de-aged Mark Hamill and just kind of do it as a one-off sort of series, like Elseworlds type of series where we get stuff like that now, the extended
Sounds
universe.
expensive.
I mean, yeah, but you know, they
In a
literally
perfect world,
one guy who came in and fixed all the de-aging stuff, because he like downloaded the stuff off of Pirate Bay and made it look better
I
than
was about to say he made it look
internet.
better than Lucasfilm did.
So they hired him.
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
just get that guy? Be like, hey, we're gonna do this, 6-episode Dark Empire series. Go do it.
I mean, I'd be okay with it personally.
We don't have to DH ever.
But as we start to wrap up here, Jason, tell everybody about your podcasts.
Well, me and Derek have a little known podcast that we do occasionally. Once a week.
Once a quarter.
Yeah, we get together and we do the Nerd Cave Retro Show, where once a week we get together and we talk about the retro gaming news of the week. We go over a little bit of video game history, and then we review an old game every single week over at Nerd Cave Retro. And I don't know what's happening, but our numbers have been growing exponentially over the last few weeks. I don't know what's happening, but we're getting crazy new listeners, new people to the Discord. So if you want to be a part of that whole community, go join us over at nerdcaveretro.com. That'll take you everywhere you need to go. That's our link tree. And also I do a comedy podcast with my friend Jacob Craig, who is a comedian, and we do a show called Open Micers, where we talk to people in the trenches of the entertainment industry every week. And Derek's been on that show numerous times. Wally's been on there numerous times. We've had Brian O'Halloran on the show to talk about Monsters Anonymous, and guess what? He's coming back again.
Dun dun dun.
I'm putting that out on this show right now. He's coming back in May, and we're going to talk about Clerks 3 stuff. So it's good. So go openmicers.com and at openmicers on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm gonna have to watch live for that one.
Yes.
Mr. Phelps, tell everybody your podcast.
My podcast is also Nerd Cave Retro. No, I'm kidding. Dead Game is the name of the podcast. Dead Game Pod with Carlos Longoria. I am the Rampage.
Rampage.
What we do is we try to resurrect a dead franchise in video games by essentially going over the history of the franchise, and then in the first half, and then the second half, we talk about the things that we would do to bring the game back to the forefront or bring it back in general. The most recent episode we recorded was Strider, which I don't know if it released yet or not, but the most recent one was Strider. Then we had Burnout the previous week. You know what? We forgot to say what the next episode was going to end up being, and honestly, I don't know. But it's deadgamepod.com. You can go there and find all of our links, all of our socials, all of the different places. You can subscribe. I think my voice is changing. I'm going through puberty as we speak. And there is Dead Game Pod is also a I can't speak all of a sudden. We have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/therrealbigwall. And if you go there, you also get bonus podcast episodes of Legend of the Dumpster Fire, which is the actual play D&D game that Carlos is a part of, and I am the dungeon master for, where a group of misfits who have no idea what they're doing are trying to investigate the disappearance of every student in a wizarding school. So for that, you can go there. It's comedy focused, has a lot of pop culture references. The most recent episode I've uploaded is probably the best way to enter. It's right after they wandered into a Tyrannosaurus paddock in a luxury resort. So that was fun.
And the last episode of Open Bikers, Wally was on, and I gave him a quiz, Dungeons and Dragons quiz, to see what kind of dungeon master he really is. And not only that, we talked about the blue check fiasco over at Twitter as well. So if you want to hear our thoughts on that, go check out Open Micers.
Is it too early to call that the infamous blue check mark incident?
I think you're right on the money there.
Yeah, it's definitely infamous. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and chat Star Wars.
Thank you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to come on and talk about things that we're passionate about.
Thank you again to Jason and Wally for that fantastic discussion on The Mandalorian and the state of Star Wars. We're going to continue the Star Wars discussion next week. Regan Bell and Christian Jones, formerly of the Fantastic People podcast, will be joining me to talk about, their time at Star Wars Celebration over in London. And we're going to be doing what I think is easily the hardest top 5 list that I have come up with. Top 5 moments from Star Wars. Not the movies, not characters, specific moments that have happened in Star Wars. It can be from the movies, from the animated series like Clone Wars and Rebels, the Disney Plus series like Kenobi, Andor, anything Star Wars related that you can think of, we'll list, and it's going to be really hard to do. I'm probably going to have 10 honorable mentions, to be perfectly honest. And as I'm recording this, I have not started my list yet because I don't know where to start. Like I've got so many, it's going to be really hard to narrow it down to 5. So look out for, it'll probably already be up by the time you hear this the day it comes out. But go to facebook.com/DDiamondPodcast to find the post for the top 5 list. Leave your list in the comments below. Or if you want to email them to me, ddiamondpodcast@gmail.com. I'll be taking lists that way as well. And that will be out next Monday. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, head over to linktree.com/DDiamondPodcast. You can find all your content for the show, whether it's a podcast subscription, YouTube subscription, social media following. Head over to linktree.com/DDiamondPodcast. And if you could, please leave a review. The more reviews the show gets, the more visible it becomes to those who are searching for podcasts. Like this is a TV and film podcast. So the more reviews that I get, the more likely this is going to be a top result when someone's searching for those particular kinds of podcasts. And one final thing, I haven't mentioned any updates on the feature in a while. We will be doing another screening of the movie Saturday, May 27th at Hellcat Hangar in Pensacola, Florida. We're going to be doing the Gulf Coast Film Fest and Social. The feature is going to be the headliner, but there will be other great locally made shorts as well. We'll be doing some Q&As. We're going to have food trucks. It's going to be a fun time. The event's going to kick off at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5. And you can head over to facebook.com/SoDiamondEvents to find all the information there that you can. Tickets are on sale. The link is on that Facebook page, and I'll put a link in the show notes as well. But that's going to do it. You can stay tuned for more information. I'll probably be having some of the filmmakers on the show over the next couple of weeks, leading up to the season finale of the Derek Diamond Experience. Not the series. The show is going to continue, but as I mentioned when I brought the show back, it is going to go on a little bit of a break during the summer to give me time to pursue other ventures. But the show is not going to forever go away like we thought it would at the end of 2021. But that's going to do it. I'm rambling at this point. So head over to linktree.com/DDiamondPodcast once again. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you guys back here next week for another awesome episode of the Derek Diamond Experience podcast.